Bingo. Oh, look at that. Okay. I did it.
All right.
Welcome, everyone. I hope your Tuesday evening has been good. I hope your Tuesday's been good. Today, for me, was Ridge Day. It was a good hike up the Foggy Ridge. And my good friend Sarah Cannon, if she's out there and listening, she has Harper, the dog, and his birthday is today. He is 14 years old man, and Chiba's 13. They've kind of grown old together. So today was a good day. We went on a walk up by Ringer Loop, and Jeff and his wife have rescued and fostered and kept dogs as long as I've known you, which has been damn near 20 years, Jeff. It's been a long time.
It has been.
So I have Jeff with me tonight. For those that are watching, most of you know me. My name's David Douglas, and I love the Ellensburg community, and I get to do some really cool work in the community in the arena of helping educate people on what substance use disorders are, how people can find a path to recovery, and something I'm really passionate about and why I'm doing these is recovery from substance use disorders. You know, generally speaking, we hear a lot about the damage of addiction. We see the latest news cycle with the latest actor or actress who's run amok, and we don't hear enough about is recovery. So that's part of why I started doing these. I'm interviewing people who live a life in recovery, and this is my shout out. If you're a person in recovery, I would love to interview you. So Jeff's with us tonight, so I'm going to introduce him here in a second, and we're going to get into that. But if you would like to do this, and I know it's for some it's a risk, but I'm all about lowering the stigma surrounding substance use disorders. So the more positive stories we hear, the better it will be in this arena as far as lowering the stigma. So my good friend Jeff is here. I'm fortunate in Ellensburg is that I say I have many brothers from another mother and another father. And Jeff is one of those. He's a fellow motorcycle rider. So we have that passion. He loves dogs. He has that passion. And he is a person in recovery. Say hello to everyone, Jeff.
Hello, everybody. Jeff here.
Where are you originally from, Jeff?
So I'm originally from Southern California. I was born in the back seat of a taxi cab on the freeway between Escondido and San Diego back when they were two separate cities.
Wow.
My older brother had been born in San Diego, and my dad wanted all of his kids to be born at the same hospital, and so mom was ready to have me. He threw me in the car. We got headed down the freeway. He had a flat tire. Oh no, I'm sorry. He ran out of gas. Okay. And so here we are sitting on the freeway out of gas, and dad jumps out and he flags down a taxi cab, and it was an off-duty taxi driver, but he explained to the guy what was going on. The guy's like, cool, let's do it. Got maybe a quarter of a mile and he had a blowout. And by that time it was too late.
Wow. Went away. Don't worry, it's not the Rona, everyone. I'm just sneezing. But it went away. Got scared.
Can't catch it from here anyway.
Are you sure? Okay. Good.
I'm pretty sure.
So that's pretty wild. Wow. So, that's how you came into the world. Does Randy know you're from Southern California? Randy Wheeler?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I wonder if he listens. He I don't know if I think he's from Southern Cal, but he lived down there, so he always talks about it. And the good old days when one city was two separate cities and kind of all those stories. And it's all interesting to hear.
Yeah.
So thank you for being willing to do this, Jeff. I did a shout out and said, hey, if you want me to interview you on Facebook, and I'm going to record, this is being recorded, and then I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel for people to watch. And this is all about putting a positive voice to recovery from substance use disorders. So So here we go. Let's dive into this. If you're watching, I ask just a few questions, and then we go through some areas that I think are important for people in recovery. And so we'll be on this for about 40-ish minutes. It just depends on how it goes. I don't have a set time on it. Me and Jeff probably both go to bed about the same time, which is early, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm old and
yeah. Now I'm 53. How old are you, Jeff?
I just turned 61.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why Randy keeps coming up, but he just turned 61 or 62. Yeah. All right. You guys are old.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of four, so all my siblings are old. So Jeff, I'm going to ask you this question, and whatever it is for you, and so everyone knows when I interview people, there's no pre-interview. We chatted for a minute before this interview, so this is all really open and whatever Jeff's comfortable sharing or not sharing. So here it is, Jeff. What does recovery mean to you?
Well, I think it evolves. First of all, recovery meant that I could hang on to my money a little longer, and then recovery meant that I wasn't as unique as what I thought I was, and then it evolved to the point where, like today, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. I've learned that the measuring tape that I've used my whole life was the wrong one. I was always comparing my insides to your outsides. And for somebody that had very little self-esteem anyway, I never measured up.
Yeah.
And so today, I compare myself to how I was yesterday, and a month ago, and a year ago, and I remember, because when I sit down and talk recovery, I always remember the last day that I drank, which was July 24th, 2003. And I wasn't supposed to drink that day, but I did. And I remember how I felt, and I don't have to feel that way today. I know that life is life, and it's not all sugar and spice. It's not all yoo-hoo, wah-ha, this is great. Some of it sucks. But for me, recovery means that I get to experience it. Yeah. And not only do I get to experience it, but I get to learn from it. And more what I get to learn is not that life sucks, but what is my reaction to what's going on around me? And I find that I don't get as angry. I don't stay angry as long. I know that it's going to be what it is. I could get all bent out of shape about the fact that I get up in the morning and I make my coffee and go to pick it up and the handle falls off the cup and it breaks and it spills all over and I make a mess, and in the process of cleaning up the mess I make another mess, and things just start kind of rolling along that way. But what I've learned is that I can restart my day anytime I want.
Yeah.
All I have to do is just stop and take a breath and realize that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or an hour of a day going not the way that I would appreciate it to go doesn't make a bad day. It just makes a bad moment in my day. And yeah.
Yeah, so, you said a lot of really good stuff in there. You're that saying, and we hear this about, you know, because I learned the same thing, that even in early recovery, that I felt unique, and that transition from realizing, you know, I'm really have more in common with others than I thought I did, right? And I like to say to people, I actually just today did a lecture through Zoom at an all-male inpatient treatment center, and I talked to the men. I love doing this lecture. I actually recorded it because you can't see anyone and you don't hear anyone, so I'm going to be able to put it up. But I like talking to men, and you and I have shared some stuff, and I think you'll. I'm just going to say this in a general way, that I felt like I was unique because I had some pretty significant trauma happen to me as a young man at the hands of a male, right? I was sexually abused. And that was some, you know, I just never talked about that, right? And so we feel, I think you might be able to relate to this, that we're alone and we're isolated and nobody's experienced the things that I've experienced, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think what happens in recovery, that part of, you know, I learned that I wasn't so unique. It's kind of like we're going to talk about, you know, circle of influence, and you could easily be on here in my circle of influence. You and I have been close throughout the years, but as I've opened up with other men and shared those parts of me that I was like, I'm not telling anyone that I learned I wasn't alone, you know? And so when you talk about that, I wasn't so unique. I'm making an educated guess. That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that kept me running and gunning for a long time, was that I was sexually abused by my father.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I would not say that to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I would not. I would guard that like it was the most valuable thing that I had.
My life, right? To the point that I did a lot of drugs and kept away from anyone that was going to try to chink at that armor, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, and if you're watching this tonight, this is the part of recovery that is really hard at first, but it's a beautiful thing. You know, Jeff's a person in long-term recovery. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I know Jeff's, you know, sought counseling and help for all of this, and I have too. And as you do this, what I found, and I want you to hear this, Jeff, because this is like public, right? That I hope it happens for you. When I share those things that men generally don't share, like I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse at the hand of another man, right? Oh shit, no, that's the reality. When I do that, I tend to, and I don't seek it out, but get messages from people going, you know what? I appreciate what you shared because I've experienced similar, or I have a family member who's experienced it. And it's kind of that same thing, like just talking about being in recovery from a substance use disorder, that I used to, you know, do heavy drugs, methamphetamines and crack cocaine, and now I've changed my life and now I'm in recovery. You know that when we're willing to share that stuff, it can really help people in some pretty powerful ways. So I appreciate you being willing to say what you said. The other thing that I wrote a note down is that self-esteem piece. And
my apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
I didn't even ask her to talk. You just be quiet. But self-esteem, and just because we're two guys talking, and I hope there's some men out there listening to this. I hope they watch it when I post it later, you know, especially for early recovery. And it just so happens that today was the day I did that lecture to all male inpatient treatment, you know, and you remember that. You and I have both been there.
Sure.
Man, self-esteem was not something I had any amount of.
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah. How have you seen that transition over the years with you and being a man in recovery?
Well, so early on, before recovery, I could never open up and be honest about anything. I was a chameleon. If I was hanging out with you and we were drinking or drugging or whatever, and you hit a key thing that was important to you, I would be on the bus. And but I would never I would use you to validate me.
Yeah.
And what's happened for me is that I value other people, but they don't make my worth. You know, I am worthy.
Yeah, we can stand on our own 2 feet, right?
I am enough.
Yeah.
And where I never felt enough before, I can stand on my own 2 feet and allow somebody to disagree with what I think or what I feel, and not have to feel that I need to convince them otherwise, or that I need to change my point of view so that I can keep their validation.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
and I think that really goes to improving your self-esteem, right? Because when we have low self-esteem, and this is certainly an active use all the time, right? You and I can both relate to that. But even in recovery, when you're needing to do that work, we can see this happen. But what I hear you saying is you've improved your self-esteem. You're your own person now, and you're okay with who you are. The other thing that you talked about, and then I want to go to my next question, which we'll get to learn a little bit more about your path to recovery, is you talked about that ability to shift. And again, folks, this wasn't planned, but in my lecture that I did today, I talk about, what I do in the beginning is kind of a 1-minute meditation, right? And I say, anytime during your day, you can make a choice, because that's what we get. When we get into recovery, we get a whole bunch of choices that we felt like we never had before, but we realize, wow, I have a lot to say. And you said it, you can shift. You get up and you spill your coffee, and then you spill the sugar, and then the dog gets in the way. And there's been times in our lives in active use where that would have just been it. I'm going to drink or I'm going to get high. Nope, not now. You said it, Jeff. You said I can shift. That doesn't have to ruin my whole day. And that's a really, really key aspect of being a person in recovery, in my view, is having that ability.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I would use any negative thing that came along to be the reason why I was going to drink or drug.
Yeah. Well, this proves it, Oh, well, of course that happened.
The day's already fucked, so you might as well.
Right. Yeah. Might as well call a dope dealer.
That just seemed like the right one.
I'll try again tomorrow, right?
Yeah, sure.
What? And then a week later, you're going, what happened to tomorrow? I had people say that. Yeah, good. So, and I always like to say, because people's attention span's about this long, but I don't want to restrict you necessarily, but kind of the Reader's Digest version. Oh, I just lost. Oh, there it is. How did you find recovery? What was your path to the life you're leading now? Those early days, or maybe right before. How did you find recovery?
The courts.
Okay.
I had committed a couple of felony offenses. Go figure.
Yeah.
And this time it actually gotten caught.
Mm-hmm.
And had ditched out on that.
Mm-hmm.
And was running to try and stay ahead, and actually got stopped in Ellensburg for a DUI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they said so I was still kind of battling around a little bit about whether or not, because I honestly I cannot remember any time in my life where I've ever been sober. My mom used to put whiskey in my bottle when I was a baby so that I would sleep all night.
Mm-hmm.
And it just continued on throughout my life. So I'd never even considered not drinking and drugging.
Mhm.
And then, so my probation officer for the DUI got together with my probation officer for the felonies.
Mhm.
And one of the things they had said was I needed to do the drug and alcohol test and, or, you know, the evaluation and follow what they say that I'm supposed to do. And anyway, I wasn't doing that. I went down and had my drug and alcohol evaluation, paid the $100 for it. And I could admit the fact that I was an alcoholic, but I wasn't a drug addict because I could quit doing drugs anytime I wanted.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just never wanted to.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they came around and they decided that they were going to kind of force my hand a little bit, and they dangled prison in front of my face. And so they were talking, you know, 6 years in prison, and I thought, well, you know, that's not all that bad. I'm going to be able to eat, and you know, and then I got to thinking about the things that I would not be able to do, and the things that, I mean, I did a lot of things to end up in jail, and I always hated it when I ended up there because it was always noisy and so they gave me another opportunity to start doing what I was supposed to do, and I'd gotten to a point in my life where I was so sick of the person that I'd become. That I was ready to, I was at least ready to do what they said to do until they were off my back. And about 2 weeks into not drinking or drugging and going to meetings, I heard somebody say something that really struck a chord with me. It was something that I had personally experienced, and yet this person was happy, and I wasn't. Yeah, that was weird. All of a sudden, you were just frozen.
Went away. Oh, good. Yep, we're good. Okay, so I'll catch. You were coming through the courts, and you were facing some significant time if you didn't make some adjustments, and take it from there.
Okay, so it took me 9 months from the date that they said that they were going to incarcerate me,
Yeah,
to finally decide that prison didn't really sound all that good. And so I went down and I had my drug and alcohol evaluation, paid my $100 again. They said, yeah, you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, you need outpatient treatment. Okay. Went to my first outpatient meeting, and Ray Barker was my first counselor that I had, and he was about your size, but he just scared the crap out of me.
You mean I don't scare you?
Huh?
You mean I don't scare you?
No.
Oh shit.
I know. You did intimidate me a little bit when I first met you.
Oh God.
You had some recovery time, and you were forcing me in directions that I wasn't really sure I was ready to go. But
yeah, Ray Barker, back to him.
Ray told me that I had to go to 2 sober support groups per week and get signatures, and I actually, the first week I didn't go, and when it came time to turn in my slip, I didn't have one. And he said, well, why not? And I said, well, because I didn't go. And I know I'm in trouble for not going, but I'm not going to try. And I don't want to be in trouble for lying about it also.
Yeah.
And his only thing was that, okay, next week you have to go 4. And I said, okay. And that was the least amount of meetings that I went to for more than a year and a half. I was actually doing 20 meetings a week.
Wow.
Here in Ellensburg.
Yeah.
And and,
Now,
and
if I'm,
I
I'm remembering back, Jeff, I remember a backpack. Didn't you have this backpack you carried around?
no, I've never been a backpack person.
God, I could have sworn that was you. Okay, go ahead. So you were going to a ton of sober support meetings,
Yeah,
engaging with
well,
recovery.
and that's where you and I met.
Mhm.
That one particular group you were the GSR of,
Huh.
and I went to the meeting all the time, and I guess I was actually I'd gotten to where I was doing the deal. They said get a sponsor, work the steps, go to meetings, and don't drink between meetings.
Yeah.
And I for the first time in my life I decided that I wasn't going to give up on myself.
Mm.
And then you had this harebrained idea that you wanted to be the DCM.
Oh God. Yeah.
And so
I shouldn't say, oh God. It was actually a pretty positive experience. Go ahead.
yeah, and you said that you wanted me to take over the GSR position
Huh.
for Mountaintop.
Huh.
And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And you said, that's okay, you'll do it.
Yeah.
And and that was when you intimidated me, because I'm like, I'm not, I'm still comparing my insides to your outsides, and you look great, and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
I feel better, but I still, it's still.
Uh-huh.
So I did it, and it was one of the greatest experiences that I had, and not because of all of the different things or places or anything that I had to do, but because for the first time in my life, I actually committed to something and stuck it out.
Nice.
And that was not my MO. I always had a lot of quit.
You talked earlier about kind of that shift. It sounds like that's where you experienced a shift, right?
That's
Kind of
that
that intuitiveness.
that was yeah, the shift actually it came a little before that.
Yep.
Um I had because I wasn't drinking, I had accumulated money, and I had been putting it in the bank, and I had decided that I was done with recovery, but I was obligated to chair the noon meeting.
Oh.
And for some reason I'm chairing the noon meeting, and I just tell everybody that, as soon as this meeting's over, I'm done. I'm going to go get just as toasted as I can on this money that's in my pocket. And some old codger, like I can't remember who it is, because I'd love to thank him a million times, but they said, have you tried praying? And I'm like, no. I said, well, maybe you want to try it. And I'm like, nah, I don't believe in that crap. And he said, well, what do you got to lose? You try it and it doesn't work, go get drunk.
Sure.
So at that time, I was living at my grandparents' house because I couldn't afford I had no idea how to live on my own.
Yeah.
And so I went upstairs to my room and I pulled the curtains down, and this is like 1:30 in the afternoon. Pulled the curtains down, locked my bedroom door, turned the TV up, and for the first time hit my knees and went, I really don't want to drink today. I really don't. And I got back up off my knees and I turned the TV down and I laid back on my bed and I picked up my big book and I started reading my big book, and somewhere I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning, still dressed, still had the big book in my pocket or in my hand, but I still also had all my money in my pocket. And I went, wow, that's some powerful stuff. And I've found over the years that the things that had so much power over me, when I talked about them, they lost their power.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's cool. It's a great story, and hearing you talk about that that kind of sounds like a transformation, a formative moment in time where it really just helped you kind of shift to going, this is the road, the new road I'm going on. And and for those that are just joining us or don't know, Jeff and I have known each other for a lot of years, and I remember meeting you in those early days of your recovery, and we've both supported each other in different ways throughout the years. I returned to use in 2006, and for me it didn't go well, and I realized pretty quickly, I kind of need to be on the recovery side of things, and you were supportive of me then, and we've each been through our own things, and this is the power of recovery, is what I've always appreciated, is the support for one another. It's that, and if anyone's listening to this, some may disagree with this, but I don't believe that someone has to have had the experience I had to be able to help me if I'm brand new in recovery. Because there are some that say, well, the person that's helping someone has to be in recovery. I've had some great counselors over the years who never had any problems with drugs and alcohol. Right. But there is something powerful about, you and I just having this conversation. It's flicking me back with some memories, about you in those early days. But it's also, we have kind of some commonalities. We've been through some things, and that can be really helpful for people in recovery, because it goes back to what you were talking about. I wrote it down that, I'm not so unique after all. And that's not a bad thing. I think people take it as a bad. I am unique. I have my unique characteristics. You have yours.
Sure.
But when we share some of that dark stuff, when we share some of that transformation, like when I know you, Jeff, I've heard you say this, and I said it. I was never going to not drink and not smoke pot.
Yep.
Just wasn't my path. Well, look at me now. Right. And it's because of people like you, who you do this. I know for people now who's someone new to recovery, however you meet them, wherever you meet them, if you can help them see that they're not unique. And that's what we're talking about. Right.
Sure.
So that's a pretty awesome story. And I, you and I could sit and talk for hours about stories and things, but for purposes of time, I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And for the audience to hear, to learn a little bit more about you and these areas that I'm pretty passionate about. I want to talk about just a few of these areas on this wheel. And again, I did the lecture today to the men at the treatment center, and what I say to them, and I say even in early recovery, is get busy, right? Get busy living, get busy taking care of those areas. That I think sometimes, and I don't think this is the case for you, you've been in recovery a long time. I know you've done a lot of work in these different areas, but I think sometimes for people in early recovery, and I get it to a certain extent, there's the mindset, I just need to focus on my recovery. I just need to either go to recovery support meetings or church or just do whatever I need to do, and everything else will come. And I challenge that in that, like I had a guy, he said, I appreciate you said that. He says, I need to get a job. I need to work. I need to take care of my family. I need to take care of my physical and mental health. So with that said, I'm going to just throw out an area and share whatever you want, or you can say, oh, I'm not talking about that. It's all open-ended.
Okay.
What this area means for you as a person in recovery, and what have you done, or what do you do to kind of manage this area of your life? And I want to start with family.
So family is it's some of the family that I have is blood, and some of the family that I have is not. Mm-hmm. The thing that with family is that I've actually been able to establish some boundaries, and I have a wonderful relationship with my siblings. Mm-hmm. I have no relationship with my mother, and I have no desire to have a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. before I got in recovery, I kept a relationship with her, even though I knew it was sick and twisted. It was just, according to her, I could do no wrong, and I needed that validation. Mm. But I talk to my family on a regular basis, and I see some of the struggles that they're going through. My older brother is a highly functioning alcoholic drug addict. I think he thinks that he possibly could have a problem with alcohol and drugs, but he doesn't feel the need to do anything about it right now. Mm-hmm. My little brother is he had 28 years and screwed it up and ended up going to prison for 9 years over it. Mm. And now he's back. He's back sober again. And my little sister's never really had a problem with alcohol, but I think that's just because she just can't afford it. Mm. But I get to enjoy my family today. My wife and my wife's brother, Stephen, I'm closer to them than I've been to most of my family most of my life. And it's because I can actually be present. And I can, I'm not comparing myself to them so that oh God, at least I'm not there. It's like, oh wow, that's a bad spot. How can I help you with that? What can I do? Yeah. And even if it's just an ear, or Stephen's my hero. He always has been, but he's called me up a couple of times with some fairly significant issue that he needed to just not talk to his sister about. He wanted to talk to me, and in the past that would have been like, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Or I would do that, and then I would bring it right straight home, and I would share it with the person he didn't want to share it with. Because I really didn't have, for a long time, I didn't have a lot of integrity. And now it's I don't need to do that. I don't need to. I can just be there for them. I can be part of their life. We can share different points of view. For the most part, there's certain things that we just don't talk about. We don't talk politics. Yeah. And we don't talk COVID. Yeah. So, but we talk about, the weather and what I'm doing today. My older brother happens to be a computer nerd. He's been in computers forever. He's actually the IT department for Amazon Santa Barbara. He is their whole IT department. He's built all of the IT in their whole office building that they just put together. Wow. And but he doesn't know jack shit about cars. I don't know anything about computers, but I know a lot about cars. So we bounce things back and forth all the time. And it's really opened up an aspect of my life that I thought had been closed for a long time. I didn't have a relationship with my older brother for probably about 10 years because he didn't like the person that I'd become. And I didn't care. It just didn't matter. And it matters who I am today to me.
Yeah, just listening to you, Jeff, I hear just a real calmness when you're talking about your family scenario. And, this is another area that you and I have some similarities, is that we were raised in some pretty crazy situations, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. And that's just, if you're listening, I mean, I'm sure Jeff could share stories and I could share stories that would just cause you to hug your children and never want to let them go out in this crazy, mean world, right? But what I appreciated what you shared about what I call, setting healthy boundaries, right? Again, I talked to the men today in that inpatient treatment center about family. I'm like, hey, you might need to repair some damage, and you might need to mend relationships with your kids. You might need to, make those amends with your mom or your dad. But also, it might mean that you set healthy boundaries with those other family members. For men that come from family systems with trauma, it doesn't mean you should go back and hug Uncle Johnny, the one who abused you. No, fuck that. It means you set healthy boundaries. And I appreciate, what you shared about your family and your family system. And I know your wife and Stephen, and I know that you've been in that relationship a long time, and these relationships take work, right? And we learn the things that we should talk about and we shouldn't. And isn't it beautiful that we get to do this? It's not always easy, but we get to participate in these relationships.
We do. And I would not for any reason change where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I know that as time goes on, things are going to change, but where I'm at right now is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm happier in my life today than I've ever been before. As I'm working out in the shop and I hit my hand with a hammer or something like that, and it hurts, and I say bad words, but still I'm happy. Yeah. And yeah.
So just for purposes of time, I think I'm just going to pick one other area, if you don't mind, on this wheel. And then we're going to talk about circle of influence. So if you're with us, I'm talking to Jeff about his life as a person in recovery. And we just went through a very important area on that wheel that has family, recovery support, career, vocation, financial health, community, physical and mental health. We talked about family, and Jeff, you just shared, really good stuff about how your life as a person in recovery has changed. And this, you said this, you didn't say it like I'm going to say it, has changed how you view your family, not necessarily how your family's changed, because right. I don't think that should be the goal, right? And I see that happen. Some people in recovery get out and they want to change their whole family. Good luck.
Yeah. Let me know how that turns out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, certainly my son's a person in recovery. He said, me being in that stuff's beautiful. But if I think I'm going to be able to change Uncle Joe or Aunt Sue with all of their craziness, yeah, no, like you said, good luck. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about physical and mental health as a person in recovery.
Okay. So as a person in recovery, as somebody that was not very kind to myself, mm-hmm. As I was growing up, I was not well. Yeah, I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done, and the first 11 years that my wife and I were together, I had 10 major surgeries. Mm-hmm. These were all things that I had not taken care of through all of these years that they'd finally caught up to me, and I needed to be taken care of and addressed. And so I think health-wise, we're talking about health. What else?
Yep, physical and mental health.
Physical and mental health. Thank you. My brain gets a little shorted out sometimes. So, anyway.
You're fine.
You'll get there when you get to be 60. Trust me.
That's a long time away for me.
Yeah. You say that now, but you wait till you get there and you go, shit, that went fast.
Hell, what just happened?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so physically, I'm healthier today than I've ever been. Um, Physically and mentally. I've unloaded the I've unloaded the closet that had all the skeletons that I was never going to unload. They
Jeff,
were gonna
we were never going to talk about that stuff.
not a fucking chance.
Ooh.
And so I've unloaded that. Well, when I unloaded that, the dark veil that was hanging over me lifted.
Yeah.
And so mentally I get to look at everything with completely different eyes. And I've got some mental issues from my childhood that I still have to deal with on a daily basis. But I can deal with it today. And I can feel it when it starts to turn. I can feel it starting to turn, and I know that there's certain things that I can do that can ease it and make it not as bad. It's just like my physical. I've got my back is very bad. I've done a lot of damage to it because I was always way too strong and not very goddamn smart. And so I would do things that were crazy.
Yeah.
And it's caught up, but today I know how to not have to live like I'm in a prison with it. I know how to take care of it. I know that I can't go out there and pick up, 50 pound bags and load them in the truck by myself.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase it. I can, but I know that if I do that,
there you go.
I've got 3 or 4 days that I'm not going to be worth punk because I'm not going to be able to move. Yeah. And it's the same mentally. I feel clearer mentally because I'm not living in a fantasy land. I'm living in today, what's actually happening right now today in this spot. I'm here. Yeah. And it just doesn't get any better.
Yeah. You said some pretty powerful stuff. You may not even realize it, but it kind of goes to I think you're similar in that it took me a couple of attempts, and this is very normal. If you're listening and you're wanting to find a path to recovery, just keep trying, right? Because it took me, I don't even know how many times before it caught, whatever that is, right? Meaning I was able to really start down this path of recovery and do the good work and make the serious changes. But I think there's some myths out there about what this life in recovery means. And I think one of the myths is that everything's going to be great. Right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, but see, and here's the cool thing that I just heard you say, because I know you've had some major stuff with your back. I have some back pain. I don't think it's on the level. I'm not trying to compare, but just like you, I know, like I put all the Christmas lights up, right?
Yep.
And I hadn't been crawling around on the roof. I hadn't been climbing around. I paid for that for 2 days, right? And I was like, I knew this was going to happen. And I think the difference is how we deal with that is so much different. And because you just said it, it's like, you know what? I know that if I do certain things that I'm going to pay for it, meaning I'm going to have to take it easy. I'm going to have to, drink a lot of water, take a hot bath, whatever the case may be, to walk through it. And the same with the mental health. I have suffered with massive depression and massive anxiety and self-esteem issues and all of that. And I have had dramatic improvements, dramatic. And I think you can relate to what I'm going to say. But me and Katrina, We've, you know, Katrina, right? You know that girl, Katrina? Yeah.
Yeah. I met her a time or two.
Met her a time or two. But she knows if I call her, or just send her a message and I just say, we have this agreement, I'm taking a day. It means that I'm struggling and I just need to, and it's usually just half a day now, right? And I don't even I just kind of just shut down. I just know that I just need that space, whether it's just for a couple hours or 4 hours, or maybe I take a whole day to just kind of feel it out, talk when I'm ready, and then boom, I'm back out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear you saying. It's not that, and I have like you said this, I have an amazing life. Oh my God, my life is full. But it's not a life that is like this pie in the sky, everything's great. Life is still fucking life. Hello, 2020, right? Look at this shit. And I think I've said this, that people in recovery have been some of the best suited people to walk through 2020. Because
I know that I'm never going to be able to say that hindsight's 2020 ever again.
No, you're not, right? But isn't that the truth? I mean, 2020 has been a shit year in a lot of ways, but I've kind of many times I've said, and tell me if you've said this too, I've been through worse. I've
absolutely
been through much worse, and not to minimize that there's been some serious stuff, but I'll get through this. And because you said it, Jeff, you know what? You've said it a few times that, you know what? I have a good life today. I woke up this morning and I heard the heat come on, and I was able to take a hot shower and open our refrigerator, and the power's on and there's food in there. Today's going to be a good day. That's
absolutely.
what I hear you saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have lived in this house right now for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I have never lived in any one place for that long, ever.
Same here.
Been in a relationship with the same person for 15 years, and I've never done that.
No. No.
I have clean clothes. I have
yeah. Dude, I think this is the cool thing. And I do my quotes of the day, and I'll do these messages, and I think that 2020 has helped everyone to really realize that something as simplistic as what you just said, I have clean clothes. Well, of course you have clean clothes. No, think about that for a second. I fucking had like one pair of pants and fucking a pair of shoes my sister bought me that were fucking nasty, right? You have a closet full of clean clothes. I'm seeing you sit in your, yeah. That's the cool thing about people in recovery in this crazy 2020 year, is I think we're some of the best suited people to walk through this. So,
well, and
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I lead a pretty simple life when they tell you that I've got to shut down and I've got to shelter in a place, and I don't have to make any changes in my life.
Yeah. You know, when we went on lockdown, you know, way back in March, and Katrina wasn't able to go to work, and we had to stay home. And I said this, I wrote about this, for those like 4 or 6 weeks, whatever the hell it was, we laughed more than we did it was, we were a little frustrated, but I like being home. I'm okay being home. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. I told you it'd be about an hour, so maybe 10 minutes over. I want to talk about this last area, and it's our circle of influence. And let me describe this to you. This is something that I've started lecturing on, and I think it's so important, especially for people in recovery, to really just think about who are those people and influences that they have putting information in their brain on a regular basis. And mine is, my son is someone that he and I are closer than we've ever been before. I talk to him almost daily, whether it's through text messaging or him calling me. And we're, guys, we can have like an hour conversation in 5 minutes. We can cover a lot of shit. But he's an influencer for me. He's someone that I love seeing what he's doing in his life. I know he's the same for me. We kind of have that, of course, dad, son, but we also have kind of a friendship relationship. My friend Brett, he's someone that I talk to regularly. He works in the community. We're on a county board together, mental health and recovery board. He's someone that I share things with regularly. He's someone that influences me. My wife, right? You know, Katrina, she's someone that is one of my biggest champions in all that I get to do in my world, and me for her. And so we bounce things off each other. My friend Derek, I am not a religious guy, but Derek is a pastor at a local church, and he's someone who I consider a close friend, and we share ideas. We actually differ politically on some pretty serious stuff, but we share that stuff with each other. There's no judgment, and we walk away at the end of the day still loving each other as brothers, right? Mm-hmm. So that those people that let things into our brain, I think it's really important for people in recovery to have that circle of influence. So when I describe that to you, what does that mean for you?
Wow. I guess my circle of influence really depends on what I'm going through at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And through the gift of recovery, I've gotten to learn a lot about a number of people, and one of the things that I've learned is that I don't need to believe everything that I think. Mm-hmm. And I try to bounce things off of people. My wife is I mean, she believes more in me than I ever have. She's constantly telling me, you know, because of things in the past, I have a real problem with getting things done. Mm-hmm. I get them started, but I don't want to get that last little piece done.
Yeah.
Because then I have to anyway. So I have my wife that we get to bounce things off of. We get to I've got to experience so many things with her over the years that I had no clue. There's a couple of people that I've met in recovery that they just make a lot of sense. They're when I'm feeling agitated or when I'm feeling out of balance, I start calling people. I've got Chuck Rose.
Oh yeah.
He and I still talk all the time, and I've got drawing a blank.
Okay.
Drawing a blank.
Well, you know, you talked about how your wife has really helped you in many ways, and you stopped for a second. You know, I think you and I share that thing of is, you know, having people that we let in, right? And this is what this circle of influence is about for me is allowing people in and allowing people to influence us in a way that helps us get to places that we wouldn't be able to get to with just our own brain, right? Mm-hmm. And I share with you, you know, the gift that I've been given in Katrina, and that she's my biggest champion. You know, I've accomplished stuff with her that you know, I've had points along the way where like I'm done. I'm not going to do that. It's just too much. And she's done her cute little thing where she gets up and she's like, no, you're not. Right. And I'm going to tell you, I know what what that taps into, Jeff, and it's that little boy in us. I keep this picture. This is me when I was a little boy, right? And I do that on purpose because we need to take care of that little boy that's in us, that's worthy, that's capable, that's powerful, right? That is unique in that you are, man, with cars and doing all the stuff you've done around your farm, and you have a gift in you of being able, for people that don't know, Jeff is laying down, but we call him, he's known as Big Jeff, right? This guy is big, and if you just don't know him, you're like, oh boy, I'm gonna stand back. But he's a big teddy bear, right? That's who you are, and that ability to reach people in that way. And so our circle of influence, and I know I kind of put you on a spot a little bit, but I know you have many people in your life over the years that have influenced you and help you be, what I say to Tyler is be better. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but Katrina's helped me become a better man. Tyler's helped me become a better father. The Brett's helped me become a better friend, whatever the case may be. And I think it's just, if you're out there and you're listening, it's really important, even if you're not a person in recovery, to just really consider, who is it that influences you on a regular basis? And are they giving you the information to help you be a better version of yourself? And I know in recovery, that's what it's all about, right? Improving our life circumstances, improving ourselves, which then in turn improves those around us. So I've kept you just a little bit longer than I said I was going to, Jeff. I really appreciate you doing this. I know it's kind of a risk putting ourselves out there in the public realm, but I think the stuff that you shared tonight and that we talked about, I guarantee you that it'll help somebody along the way, whether it's find a path to recovery, whether it's deal with childhood trauma, which many of us in recovery have a lot of that stuff going on, or just want to be a better person. So I think it is helpful, and it's a good thing to do.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
I love to talk about recovery.
Yeah, good.
I love to think back, and one of the things that doing this, it reminds me of how grateful I am.
Yeah.
That I get to be who I am today.
Yeah. It's then same here. I mean, seriously, thinking back to when I first met you many years ago, and like I said, I did the lecture today to the men at the treatment center. It just helps keep me grounded. I'm like, and I like that you brought up, I say this, I'm nobody special, right? If this kid, me from the streets of Tacoma, with what I was handed as a kid and then what I turned into as an adult, if I can get to where I've gotten today, so can you, right? And I know that's part of what you're talking about, that message of hope. And I think people need that right now, is hope.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And there's, as long as you don't give up on yourself, there's always hope.
Absolutely.
You may not see it right away.
Yeah.
But if you just keep on,
yeah,
it'll come.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll come. Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you, David.
Have a good rest of your night, and thanks everyone for joining us.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.